Okay, so we're going to have just a short technology talk regarding how to use uh, StatCrunch to calculate mean, standard deviation, etc., and also how to do box plots. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the preview for homework assignment. Section 3.2. And let's just bear with me. You can see it's trying to pull up here. Internet's been a little bit slow today. I've been here since about 7:20 this morning, and it has its slow times. A little bit frustrating. Oh, pop-up block. We don't want. Okay. We will always allow pop-ups here. There we go. Sometimes it's the pop-up blocker that challenges it. So anyway, well, while that's pulling up, let me pull to the graphing calculator. If you want to pull out your graphing calculator. And what I'll ask you to do to start things off in your graphing calculator is to go into the stat menu and edit, which is option 1 here. And make sure that you've got some data, some numbers in one of your lists. L1 maybe. L2, L3, any of these lists is fine. By default, when you ask the computer to make some sort of statistical calculation, if you don't input a list, it just assumes that you mean L1, which is this first column. All right. Let's quit out of there, go back in your stat menu, and notice across the top you actually have 3 submenus. You have the edit submenu, the calculation submenu, and the test menu. We're going to right arrow over to calculate submenu. And you will select the first option, one variable statistics, and enter. And let's see what comes up. Now, notice that I didn't put a list. I didn't specify the list. So by default, the calculator assumes that you calculate the one variable statistics for the numbers that are in list L1. And indeed, for the numbers that I have in list L1, you notice the first thing it reports is the X bar. And what is X bar? What's X bar? Anybody? Mean, the sample mean, exactly. And sigma X means the sum of all the numbers in that list. Sigma X squared means the sum of the squares of those numbers. S sub X, anybody want to guess what S sub X means? Well, what does S mean? Standard deviation, right? Standard deviation. So the standard deviation of that set of numbers in list L1 is 8.91978138.7 approximately. Never mind the sigma sub X. The N, what does the N stand for? Yeah, the number of numbers, exactly. It's the sample size. I've said this a few times. N will almost always stand for the sample size, right? All right, let's go ahead and scroll down using your left arrow button. And then you see minimum, X, Q1, median, the MED, that means median, Q3, and maximum. This is your 5-number summary that we talked about last time. So if you need to create a box plot by hand, you can have your graphing calculator generate the 5-number summary pretty quickly. Okay. Now let's go ahead and quit out of that. Or you can just clear it. Now if you just want to have one simple calculation like the mean or the standard deviation or something, I'll tell you what you can do. Again, make sure that all your numbers are inputted in a list. And then go into your list menu. You have to hit second and then the stat menu in order to get into your list menu. And once you are in the list menu, the first submenu is the list names, L1, L2, etc. Your second one is ops. You can sort it. You can have it find the dimensions, meaning the size, and so forth. But we're going to write her over to the math menu. In math menu, you can have the calculator find the minimum value of a list of numbers, the maximum, the mean, median, sum, etc. I'm going to go ahead and just select a mean, which is option 3. Mean of what? Well, the mean of my list. Well, what list? L1. So you can go back in your list menu and select your first option for list L1 that way. Or I'm going to backspace here and try it again. Go back in the list menu and select math, mean. But a different way that you can select your list is by hitting second and this button right here. And the second means that you're going to choose whatever the blue option is, which in this case is L1 there. So that's the second way of choosing your list number, your list name. And then close parenthesis, and then there you can have the calculator calculate the mean of your list. And same thing with standard deviation and mean and so forth. Go back to your list and math menus, okay? Regarding how to do box plots on your graphing calculator, go into second and the stat plot here and select your first stat plot. You can choose any of them. I always just go with the first stat plot. Make sure it's turned on. And then down arrow, and then right arrow for the type of menu. Keep on right arrowing. And the fourth option is going to be the box plot there. That's a modified box plot, or there's just a standard box plot. Let's go with the fourth option, which will give us a modified box plot. Again, you don't have to use my data. Just use whatever data that you've got in your list. And if you want to change your list L1, L2, L3, any list that you want, go ahead and change it here. But you have to have some list put there. And then what sort of marker? They're asking what marker for any outliers that might appear there. Now, remember we had to do some figuring before for a histogram last time, figure out where our left and right limits are and stuff for the window. Here's going to be a slick trick that you can use to not even have to figure that out. Do you see the zoom button here? Click on zoom. Uh-oh. Something's happening here. Okay, click on zoom. I don't know what was happening there. And then scroll down till you see zoom fit. Zoom fit right there. And when you hit enter, your calculator will automatically fit the window for your graph. Everybody see that? So that makes it nice and easy, huh? But if you want to know what these left and right limits are and the tick marks, then you can go back into your window and see what the limits are, what the scaling is. So you can see the scaling is 7 units for every tick mark, and the left edge is 165. So that tells you what? And then the right edge is 195, so every 7 units is a tick mark. So I would be wondering, what exactly is this left edge at, and what is this tick mark right here? Is that one? So this is like 165, and this is 170, 177, and so forth. I'm not sure. So what I would do to make it simple for myself is put a tick mark every 5 units. There. So now it's clear to me that the left edge is 165. This tick mark is at 170. And then the next tick mark is at 175 and 180, 185, 190, 195. So you might have to go back and change the scaling or whatever. Okay. So that's how you do box plots. Any questions so far? All right, let's see if, all right, so my StatLab is up and running. I'm going to go into section 3.2, and I'm going to preview. So it's going to look just like if you were doing the homework. Now, I don't know if it's the internet or if it's my StatLab. Sometimes my StatLab gets to be a bit slow. So let's just be patient and wait for it to come up here. All right, so let's pull up one of these homework assignments. I think it's number 8. Yeah, or maybe number 9. Bear with me, or is it number 7? Okay, so here's a list of numbers here, and they want you to calculate the mean, median, mid-range, and mode. Well, you can have StatCrunch do a lot of that work for you. Go ahead and click on this link right here. Open in StatCrunch. And I've got a column of numbers. Then I can click on Stat, Summary Statistics, Columns, select the column name, Variable 1, and by default the Summary Statistics command will generate all these statistics, n, mean, variance, standard deviation, error, etc. Min, max, Q1, Q3, so 5-number summary. Go ahead and click on Compute. And there it is. For that column of data, there's 11 numbers. The mean is 0.8963664. Here's the variance. There's the standard deviation. Remember that the variance is the square of standard deviation. Or conversely, that the standard deviation is the square root of the variance. Never mind the standard error of the mean right now. We'll talk about that later in the course. Median, 0.85. Range. Remember, the range is the distance between the max and the min, right? If you were to take this maximum minus the minimum, you have the range. And if you take half the range, you'd have the mid-range that they're asking for in the problem. and you have Q1 and Q3. So if you start off at the minimum, and then Q1, median, Q3, and maximum, you've got your 5-number summary, for example. If you wanted MyStatLab to do a box plot for you, click on Graph, Box Plot, select your column. And if that's all you do, you can have it do the box plot. There it is. But by default, it's vertically oriented. So if you want a horizontally oriented box plot, then you can click on this option there. And if you want to identify any outliers using a fence, left and right fence, select on that option right there. If you want to give it a label name, X label, Y label, maybe a color, let's do a red to blue color or something. Maybe we can get some horizontal and vertical lines, etc. So we can kind of jazz it up, make it look better. Okay? Any questions so far about how to use StatPlot? Have you used StatPlot now so far for anything in your homework? Okay. Don't be afraid to use StatPlot to do whatever you want, and get in there and poke around. And also, if you're not sure how to do something, do a Google search, how to use StatPlot or StatCrunch to do this or that or whatever else. Also, if you really like to use Excel, you can click on this link and make a comma delimited copy, and the system will paste this data to the clipboard, and then you can open an Excel spreadsheet and paste this data into a column in Excel, and then you can go to some other cell and type in something like mean, which actually doesn't recognize mean, but understands average. Oh, actually equals. I wonder what it equals mean. Well, it could do a median. So if you want to calculate the median of this set, so equals median of that range of numbers, you have to kind of highlight it or give it the range of values, or cell numbers, I should say. And there's the median. If you want to calculate the mean, it's going to be average. So equals average, and then go ahead and highlight that list of numbers and close parentheses there. If you want to do standard deviation, equals standard deviation. And there you are. And so forth. And if you want other functions, click on that link and that option there. If you want statistical formulas, you can click on that one. And then you can go through. Of course, a lot of the stuff you might not be familiar with. If you want to count or sample size, you can do that one. But for a lot of these, you probably need a degree in statistics to understand what those mean. But there's median, min, max, mode, percentile, permutation, probability, etc. Variance, z-test, which we'll talk about z-test later in the course. All right. So as of now, are there any questions about technology, how to use technology to do any of your homework? Is this helpful at all? A little bit? Okay. And if you so come up against the wall and you don't know how to use StatCrunch, Excel, graphing calculator, just put that in as a search term in Google, And I'm sure that you'll find a resource. In fact, later today, before I leave for home this afternoon, I'll post a link on YouTube to at least one video on how to use Excel to generate box plots. Now, there's no immediate box plot application that they've got loaded in there, but there's a little bit of work that you do have to do in order to get it to create a box plot. But in case you're interested, I'll post that link. And I will render this video a little bit later and post the link as well. All right, so I'm going to stop it.